Hey, I'm going to tell you what I wish somebody would have told me 30 years ago when I built my first house. It'll save you a whole lot of stress, not to mention a whole lot of money, just by knowing the simple, basic things when it comes to building a house. My name's Wayne Turner. For nearly 30 years, I've done just about everything when it comes to real estate, buying, flipping, selling, you name it. So I'm going to share with you the biggest mistakes that I personally have made whenever I was building my first house, so you don't have to make those same mistakes. So look, you may want to grab a pen and a piece of paper and start writing these down. Number one, and there's three parts to number one, is the actual lot itself, the land. Those trees may not always be there, so don't just think that if you're looking at that lot to build a house on, that it's always going to be private. That could be another parcel of land, a tract of land that can one day be a commercial building, or it could be other homes. So you just got to know that that may not always be there. You also have to look at, just because a lot has trees on it, it's not always a premium lot. They'll try to sell you that it's a premium lot or it's an upgraded lot and charge you more. But truly, when it comes down to the appraised value of the home, those trees don't give the lot any more value. And you don't want to be paying more for a premium lot when you have those trees. If those trees are ever removed or you go to sell the property, then you're kind of pinched out on that money-wise, if you will. And then the third thing is you got to know where that sun is setting. You may not want the sun to set on the back of your house. You may be okay with it setting on the front of the house, but you got to look at, am I entertaining a lot? Am I outside a lot? Because if I'm outside a lot and entertaining a lot, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and if you have a west back facing lot, you're going to get a whole lot of sun on the back of your house, and that just may not work out for you. Another I failed to mention is flood zones. You got to know the flood zone. A lot of people say, Lord, don't buy a house in a flood zone. But if you're living in coastal areas, you got to understand 25 states in the United States live around coastal water. So yeah, you're going to have some flood zones. There's A, B, C, and X. You want C and X if possible. That means that it's the least likely of the lot and the property itself actually flooding. Now, it's no different when you're building a house than if you're buying a house. You got to get financing, right? You got to know what you can afford, what you can pay, and what your monthly payment's going to be if you're not paying cash for a property. And you also have to look at, what are the upgrades? What's it going to cost me to add a driveway? What's it going to cost me to add a fence after the fact? So if the house or the contractor doesn't factor in that, hey, we're going to put in a concrete driveway and we're going to put in some upgrades, and you're thinking, well, you know what, I'll just build the house basically like that, like it is, and I won't need to worry about it because I'll come up with the cash. You need to think that cash is king, and it's going to cost you a lot of money to come out of pocket to do upgrades, such as maybe pouring a concrete driveway or putting in a privacy fence or doing some upgrades like upgraded floors or countertops. Those are the things that the builder can actually put in for you, and at closing, the house is finished. So you've got upgraded floors, maybe you have countertops, concrete privacy fence, and all of that can be done and rolled into your loan. And you'd be surprised whenever you look at, okay, what am I approved for? And what is that $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 fence? That's $8,000 out of pocket. But if I add $8,000 over 30 years, then my note's not going to be substantial enough to justify having to recoup that $8,000. So always consider and always know that when you're adding a driveway or anything, you can always put it in the payment and in the exact purchase price of the house. Now, a very important feature, as I just mentioned, you can add those types of features. You can see this house is putting a covered back porch on the house. Instead of doing it after fact, do it while the home is under construction. Pick a floor plan that actually has a covered back porch. That makes a huge difference when it comes to resale, and it makes a huge difference in the quality of your life when you actually live into the property. Always put a covered front porch and some sort of covered front porch when you're building a house. And look, the reason why I share this with you is I made those mistakes. I didn't put a covered back porch. I had to spend cash money to put a covered back porch on my first house. I also didn't put a fence. I had to pay cash to put a fence on the property. So I had to come out of pocket with those things. And I wish somebody would have told me, Wayne, you can have them put a covered back porch. It may cost them less, and they're going to charge you, but you're just going to add it to your monthly payment. Now, I did do that with a driveway. So I added the driveway, and this is where wisdom comes in. And I've been around construction my whole life. My dad said, Wayne, what's it going to cost you for that driveway? I said, I don't know, Dad, about $3,500. He said, why don't you have the builder do it and see if you can pay for it in the loan? So I did that, and it literally cost me $13 a month. I lived in the house, for example, for 5 years. I paid $13 a month for 5 years. Do the math, that's 60 payments of $13 a month. I didn't even pay for the driveway. I mean, I did, if you will, but you see what I'm saying? I was able to keep my cash in that sense, and that's what I'm here to show you. So hang in there. Let's look at a few more things. Now, don't get me wrong, when it comes to upgrade, you can get carried away, you can blow your budget. You gotta make sure that if you're financing, like I mentioned, you gotta check with the lender and are you approved. But some of the things that you can look at is like nice trim, 8-foot doors, fireplaces. Always put a fireplace in a house, regardless, even if you're in Florida. Put a fireplace that's great for resale, have it a really cool, good looking mantle. Always do pre-wiring. This is what I tell everybody. Always pre-wire for TVs. Usually you want to do this in the main bedroom as well as the main living area. You'll also want an open floor plan, if you will. Galley kitchens are most of the time people's least favorite. Those are the ones where you got cabinets on one side, cabinets on the other, and it's like a hallway. So if you can, avoid doing a galley kitchen because you always have to think about resale. And when it comes to a galley kitchen, those are typically the least favored kitchen when it comes to consumers. Now, one of my favorite features as I stand here in the kitchen is cabinet lighting, and it is so simple and easy to do that. My first house I didn't. The second house I built, I made sure that I had under cabinet lighting because once the electricians are here and they're running wires, it's so much easier. They know exactly where the cabinet's gonna go and they'll put a wire right there. That way you have under cabinet lighting. It just gives such a nice ambiance. If you have children, you can leave one of the lights on. It's kind of like a night light, if you will, but it's just a really cool feature that I personally think is a win when it comes to building a house. Now, another thing that's so simple, but yet it really takes on a mind of its own, if you will, and that's the paint. You want to make sure that you've got a good paint job on the walls and you don't have a high sheen. If you'll notice that that's not a real high sheen on that wall. You want to go with what they call an eggshell or a flat. So as it gets shinier, it shows more imperfections on the wall. And I know a lot of people say, well, Wayne, it's so much easier to wipe that clean. Listen, with paint the way it's engineered today, you can pretty much do an eggshell or a flat and it will wipe off just as easy as if it were a semi-gloss or a satin paint. Now, when it comes to picking out a floor plan, you want to do what they call a split floor plan. Now, that means one bedroom, the main bedroom's on one side of the house, and you have other bedrooms on the other side. Now, if you're going to build a 2-story house, make sure you have at the very minimum the main bedroom on the first floor. But if you can, you're building a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house, for example. You can have 2 bedrooms down and 2 bedrooms up. That's typically the ideal. That way, if someone has a child, resale, you have children, small babies, they can have their room, it's downstairs. You don't have to trek back and forth upstairs to get to the baby's room. Now, one of the things that you'll want to ask any builder is references, of course, right? But one thing that I didn't do that I wish I would have done is went into more of the houses that were already finished, completed, that the builder had built whenever I built my first house. That would have let me kind of see the overall construction, not just talking with the people. But you can see the little things. I'm going to swing the camera around a little bit. And this house has beautiful crown molding and the ceilings and just the windows. Like that right there is absolutely beautiful. It's really traditional and it's timeless. The same thing with the mantle. That is a really good looking mantle. So it's those sorts of things that you can walk through and go, okay, this is standard. It's not an upgrade. What's an upgrade? You know, it's one of those deals where they'll give you the price of the house, but by the time you're doing all the upgrades, you're like, geez, they charge me for baseboards. They charge me for light switches. They charge me, they charge me, they charge me. It's like, look, man, I just want to know what's the basic price out the door so you're not hit with that stuff. The last thing you want to do is to pick out colors, pick out a floor plan, pick out a lot, and then all of a sudden the builder says, oh, it's going to be $18,000 more than what you originally budgeted for, and most importantly, what they originally quoted you. Now look, I hope you enjoy these videos. I could go on and on and on, but they're like, hey Wayne, you got to keep it to 10 or 12 minutes, people's attention span, but we do have more videos. And if there's ever a video or more information that you want to learn about construction, buying land, or just anything real estate, leave us a comment below. You can go to contactwayne.com. We can reach out. We can help you personally with any kind of real estate endeavor. Until next time, make it a great day.